Welcome dear friends. Today we would discuss in this video one of the most important aspect of life, and that is cell. Cell is the most important aspect of life because the life started with cell, life is continued by cell, and cell is the structural and functional unit of life. We would discuss definition of the cell, we would discuss types of cells, we would discuss the different shapes, sizes in the cells, we would discuss the plant cell and animal cell in today's video. So let's start with the definition of the cell. How we define the cell? Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. It is structural unit and functional unit. Why it is structural unit? Because all the organisms are made up of cell. Cell designs the bodies of organisms, each and every organism. Exception is there only of viruses. We can't say viruses as organisms because viruses are acellular. Viruses are on the verge of living and non-living. Viruses are not made up of cell. Except viruses, each and every living organism, right from mycoplasma, PPLO, plants, animals, and all types of living organisms, they are composed of cells. Each and every organism is made up of cell. Their body is made up of cell, and that's why cell is the structural unit of life. Structural unit. It is functional unit of life because each and every organism carries functions by the cells. Whatever function we carry, it is basically carried by the cell. For example, vision. If I see something in front of me, vision is done by my eyes, but my eyes are made up of cells. Each and every part of my eyes is made up of cells. So whatever I am seeing, I am looking at, it is done by vision, it is done by basically my cell. So cell is the functional unit of life. Cell is the structural unit of life, cell is the functional unit of life, cell is the smallest living entity. It is smallest living entity. Anything that is living, anything that is living, it is cell. Smallest thing. It differs, or cell forms the difference between the living and non-living. Living and non-living. Now how it is? How it forms difference between living and non? Cell is made up of some molecules like the carbohydrates, fats, lipids or fats, then proteins, DNA, RNA. Many other objects are also made up of molecules, but living objects are those objects in which all these molecules, we call them as biomolecules because they are present in the cell. All these molecules are organized in a very particular fashion, and that's give rise to the cell becomes living. If these molecules, same lipids or carbohydrates or DNA, RNA, if they do not organize in this fashion, they just add in numbers and they form heaps, then it becomes non-living. To become living unit, it has to be organized in a particular form, and that form is cell, and that's why it is cell. It is said that cell is the difference in living and non-living. It is higher organization of the molecules so that it became living. So cell is forming the difference between living and non-living. One more aspect of the cell is that it is the unit of heredity. Unit of heredity. Cell is the unit of heredity. Why? Because it carries the genes. Basically, genes are the means of heredity. Genes carry information from one generation to next generation. These genes are present on the DNA. They are the active segments of the DNA. DNA is present in the chromosomes, and chromosomes are present inside the nucleus. That nucleus is present in the cell, and therefore the nucleus or the genes or the DNA, it is carried from one generation to next generation by the cell. So cell is the unit of heredity. Except cell, only genes cannot be passed, only DNA. Of course, again exception is the viruses. In viruses only DNA passes from one generation to next generation, but except viruses, in any other organism the viruses, the DNA or the genes cannot pass without cell. They are carried from one generation to next generation by the cell, and in this way cell is the unit of heredity. So overall, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. It is the structural and functional unit of all organisms. Cell is the smallest living entity. Anything lesser than cell or smaller than cell is non-living. It is forming the difference between the living and non-living. Cell is the unit of heredity. It is the unit of heredity. It carries genes or the DNA from one generation to next generation. Now this cell was discovered by so many scientists. It has been contributed, the discovery of the cell has been contributed by a lot of workers, and we will discuss one by one who are involved in the discovery of the cell. Actually there are so many people, but we just talk about some of the landmarks in the cell discovery. So what is the history of the cell discovery? Now coming to the history of the cell discovery, we know the first name is always there, that of Robert Hooke. Basically Robert Hooke is famous for the microscope he has designed. He was designing different microscope, and he has written in his book Micrographia about the inventions, his inventions. In the same book Micrographia, he has written that for the first time he observed some cellula, and these cellula were the honeycomb like structures formed by the cork pieces. Now these were the honeycomb like structures, these were the cell walls, dead cell walls of some cork pieces, which were observed by Robert Hooke in his own microscope, the microscope he has designed, and he called them as cellula. And this cellular term, which is a Greek term, it means that empty hollow spaces. Cellula means empty hollow spaces. So the empty hollow spaces or the dead cell walls were observed for the first time by Robert Hooke in 1665, and that is the beginning of cell. The term cell came from this cellular word, and this is the first instance in the discovery of the cell. The second one we all know, it is about the actual living cells. The actual living cells were observed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Anton van Leeuwenhoek. He again is famous for designing microscope. Anton van Leeuwenhoek, he also designed microscopes, and while designing microscope he observed some living cells. First time living cells were observed by Leeuwenhoek in 1674, and he observed RBCs of human being, he observed living bacteria and few other living cells for the first time. Who? Anton von Leeuwenhoek. For the first time living cells were observed by Leeuwenhoek with his own microscope. Again later on there was a big gap, and then Robert Brown in 1831 observed the nucleus. The nucleus was first time observed by Robert Brown. Again, nucleus is one of the most important part of the cell, and therefore mention of the Robert Brown is important. After that, two important scientists, it's the fourth one, are the Sladen and Swan. Matthias Claden. He is a German botanist, and Matthias Claden in 1838 studied the cells of plants. He studied the plant cells in very detail. Plant cells, Claden. Then Theodore Swan in 1839 discovered or studied the animal cells in detail. Animal cells. He discovered and he observed animal cells in detail. Then we will talk about the cell theory slightly later on about Theodore and Swan. Then Purkinje in 1839 observed for the first time protoplasm. Protoplasm is anything that is living in the cell. Whole living part of the cell is the protoplasm, and one more mention is important, and that is of Rudolf Virchow. Now this Rudolf Virchow in 1855 for the first time observed cell division. What he observed? He observed how cells divide, cell division, and he stated, Robert Virchow stated that the new cell is always formed from the pre-existing cell. Now this is one of the most important discovery which is later on again included in the cell theory. So these are some of the important contributions. Let me revise once again. The first instance of the cell theory, discovery was of Robert Hooke in 1665. For the first time he observed some empty spaces of cork, and these were the cell wall, dead cell walls. He called them as cellula, and he published his work in Micrographia, his book basically based on the microscope. Then Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the second who for the first time observed some living cells like RBC, WBC and few bacteria, etc. He published his work in 1675. Then came the number Robert Brown. Robert Brown discovered the nucleus in 1831, and then Matthias Claden 1838 he observed plant cells. Theodore Swan 1839 observed the animal cells. Purkinje observed the protoplasm, discovered the protoplasm, used the term protoplasm 1839. Rudolf Virchow 1855 he for the first time observed the cell division, and he stated that the cell always is formed from the pre-existing cell. So these are some of the landmarks in the discovery of the cell. Let's discuss the cell theory, the most important part of the cell. Now cell theory, there is a good incidence. Claden and Swan. Claden, a German botanist, studied plant cells in 1838. Swan, British zoologist from different country, he studied the animal cells. Both studied some nucleus like central and few other aspects of the cells. They both were having a dinner together in 1839 at one instance, and at that time they started discussing their work. Whatever research work was done by them, they were sharing with one another, and they concluded that both of them were going on the same path. So they formulated, they brought their work together, they published it together, and they formed it as a cell theory. They called it as a cell theory, and they stated that all living organisms are made up of cell, and like that cell is the fundamental and structural and functional unit of life, etc. But the cell theory which was given by Sladen and Swan did not include the origin of cell, how cell continues, how life continues. It was not the part of that cell theory. So later on, the work of Rudolf Virchow, who in 1855 studied the cell division, and he for the first time stated that the new cell is always formed from the pre-existing cell. So there, at that time, the cell theory was again modified, and now we study the cell theory which is modified by these three scientists. The cell theory modified by these cell theory, which is the cohesion of work of these three scientists. One of them is Sladen, then Swan, and Virchow. Rudolf Virchow. So, modified or modern cell theory involves the work of all these three scientists. Now, what is the cell theory? The cell theory states that all the living organisms are made up of cell. First thing, all the living organisms are made up of cell. So, this is the cell theory, the cohesion of the work of these three scientists. Now, the first point is all living organisms are made up of cell and cell products, products of the cell. So, whatever is present in the body of organisms, it is the cell and cell products. Maybe it is amoeba, single celled organism, or it may be a giant whale, blue whale, but all the organisms in all the kingdom, they are made up of cell and cell products. The second point is cell is structural and functional unit of life. We discussed this at the time of our introduction of the cell, definition of the cell. It is the structural unit because whatever we are made up of the cell, and it is a functional unit because whatever we do, it is basically done by the cell. The third point is of the cell theory is new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. Now this is Virchow's point, Rudolf Virchow. He stated that cells divide, and after division the new cell is always coming from the pre-existing cell. New cells are always formed from the pre-existing cells. Then the cells are alike in chemical composition. Basically, slightly there might be difference in mature cells, but basically when the cells are formed, they are all alike in their chemical composition. All the cells are alike in chemical composition, and they are showing same metabolic processes. So photosynthesis is similar in all the cells, respiration, it is similar in all the cells. Whatever cell metabolic processes are there, they are basically similar. Lipid metabolism, fat metabolism, whatever the cell process, the basic metabolic processes are similar in all the cells. And the last point, the function done by an organism as a whole is basically done by the cells which are forming that organism. So when we do anything, it is done by the cell. If I am moving my hand, then I am using the cells which have formed my hand, and cells are doing that function. Brain has given the order, and again brain is also made up of cells, so cells have given order. Cells carry the order in the form of neurons, and they show the result also cells. So whatever functions, activities, processes, they are done by an organism as a whole, an organ as a whole, they are basically done by the cell. So this is the cell theory. So after discussing the cell theory, let's discuss the basic types of cells. Basically the cells are of two types, the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell. Pro means primitive, karyon means nucleus. So prokaryotic cells are those cells in which there is no well developed nucleus, or well developed nucleus is absent in these cells. These are the cells in which in place of well developed nucleus just a single circular naked DNA is present. Single circular naked DNA. Now this nucleus, well developed nucleus which is present in the eukaryotic cell, it has a nuclear envelope covering. It is two layered nuclear envelope. At intervals the nuclear pores are present like this. So a nuclear envelope is present. Inside this nuclear envelope the chromatin material is present. So the chromosomes or chromatin, which are the bound DNA is binded into the histone proteins and it forms the chromatin material. Then one or two nucleoli are present and the cytoplasm like material or fluid which is called as nucleoplasm, so that is also present here. So this is a well defined nucleus. Such type of well defined nucleus is present in the eukaryotic cell, and in the prokaryotic cell in place of this nucleus only a single circular naked DNA is present there. Except this difference, except the difference of the nucleus, again there is difference in the membrane bound cell organelles. So membrane bound cell organelles like the endoplasmic reticulum, then Golgi bodies, etc. Endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, lysosomes, then plastids like chloroplast, chromoplast, etc. All of them are present. Mitochondria, they are present with the eukaryotic cell. They are called as the membrane bound cell organelles, and such cell organelles are present in eukaryotic cell. They are absent in prokaryotic cell. Membrane bound cell organelles are absent in prokaryotic cell. They are present in eukaryotic cell. One more difference is there are ribosomes. Ribosomes are present in both the cases. They are present here, they are present here, but the ribosomes which are present in the prokaryotic cell, there are 70S ribosomes, and here there are 80S ribosomes. S is the Svedberg unit. It was developed by the scientist Svedberg and therefore it is known as Svedberg unit. So 70S ribosomes are present in prokaryotes, 80S ribosomes are present in eukaryotes. The prokaryotes have flagella. Many bacteria have flagella, but their flagella is not 9+2 flagella. 9+2 is a special type of flagella which is present in eukaryotes, where two central filaments are present and fibrils are present, and 9 peripheral fibrils are present. So 9+2 flagella is present in eukaryotic cells, and in prokaryotic cells the flagella is not of 9+2 type. Size is slightly different. The prokaryotic cells range from 1 micron to 10 micron, and here these range from 5 microns to 100 microns. 5 to 100 microns eukaryotics, mostly 10 to 100 microns, but some are 5 microns also, micrometers. In prokaryotes the cells are smaller, ultramicroscopic or microscopic, and they range from 1 micron to 10 micron. So this is the difference in the prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Some organisms which are made up of prokaryotic cell are all types of bacteria, eubacteria, cyanobacteria, archaeobacteria, some slime molds. They are prokaryotic in nature. They have a separate kingdom, Monera. The eukaryotic cells are forming all other organisms, all higher organisms, higher plants, higher animals and fungi. They are made up of the eukaryotic cells. So this is the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. I would like to show you that cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell, with the help of a slide. So this is the slide showing the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. We have seen that nucleus is the main difference. Single circular naked DNA is present in prokaryotes, and in eukaryotes the nucleus is well defined with a nuclear envelope, nucleoplasm, nucleolus, and many linear chromosome. Linear chromosome, circular chromosome, naked DNA here. DNA modified or binded into the chromatin material. The cell organelles, membrane-bound cell organelles are absent in prokaryotes, they are present in eukaryotes. 70S ribosomes in prokaryotes, 80S ribosomes in eukaryotes. Then the prokaryotic cell is not having flagelle of 9+2 type, the eukaryotic cell is having flagelle of 9+2 type. Size, there is difference in the size and organisms which are, these are the cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. You can see here, in case of the prokaryotic cell, this is the DNA, single circular naked DNA. This DNA is circular, it is not having ends. Here the chromosomes are present inside this nucleus. This is a well developed nucleus, and inside this nucleus the chromatin material is present, which are the chromosomes. Nucleolus is present here, the nuclear envelope is present here, nucleoplasm is present here, and all this together forms a well developed nucleus. Here in place of nucleus this DNA is present. This is called as gonophore or false nucleus also. Along with that, here the mitochondria are present, the Golgi body is present, the endoplasmic reticulum is present, chloroplast is present. So these are the membrane bound cell organelles which are present in the eukaryotic cell. They are absent here. Ribosomes are present in the both cases, but here ribosomes or polysomes, they are 70S type, here they are 80S type. Flagella is also differing. So these are some of the differences between the two basic types of cells, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Now we would discuss about the cell shape. I would again go with the slides only because figures are there. We can see that in case of the prokaryotic cells, bacteria especially show some limited variation in the cell. There is not much variation. Few types of bacteria depending on their shape are there. Cocci, bacilli. Cocci are spherical, bacilli are rod shaped, spirilla are spiral bacteria, and vibrio are the comma shaped bacteria. Eukaryotic cells also showed variety of cells. There is large variation in the eukaryotic cells regarding the shape of the cell. In human being itself, the cells are of different types in our body. We see our nerve cells are very long and elongated, thin fiber-like cells. Muscle cells are different. The RBCs are different, WBCs are different. WBCs are basically amoeboid cells. They do not have a fixed shell. In other organisms also cells vary and they show different types of shapes. Size of the cell, we discussed the prokaryotes are smaller, eukaryotic cells are slightly larger. Even then the mycoplasma is the smallest living cell. Mycoplasma ranges from 0.1 to 0.5 microns. Basically the mycoplasma is generally 0.3 micron, but some of them are 0.1 to 0.5 microns also. Prokaryotic cells generally range from 1 to 10 microns and eukaryotic cells from 5 to 100 microns. In human body, RBCs are the smallest cells. Acetabularia is a alga, and this is the largest unicellular organism. It is the largest among unicellular organisms. Ostrich egg is the largest cell in any type of the organism. It is 15 centimeter long and 13 centimeter wide. This is the difference between plant cells and animal cells. The last point which would, after which we would conclude today. Plant cells and animal cells. We know plant cells are having a large vacuole, animal cells do not have large vacuole. Plant cells have plastids, chloroplast, chromoplast, etc. They are present with the plant cells, they are absent in the animal cells. The size of the plant cell is generally larger than animal cell, not much difference but slightly larger than the animal cells, and it is in animals, the size of the cell is slightly smaller than plant cells. Lysosomes are very less in the plant cells, or sometimes they are absent also, but in animal cells the lysosomes are present and their number is more. Centrosome and centrioles are totally absent in the plant cells, but they are present in the animal cells. Now you can see a plant cell here, a plant cell with a big vacuole and these so many chloroplast, chromoplast, they are present there. The cell wall is present here. This is the cell wall is present here, and this cell wall is important because it has given protection to the cells. That's why plants are present in the open surroundings. They are not hiding like us, or like animals in the caves or in the houses. They are naturally protected by this cell wall. So cell wall is very important difference between animal cell and the plant cell. This is the animal cell. Here you can't see a vacuole. Vacuole is absent here, plastids are absent here, the chromoplast or chloroplast, it is not present here. You see here lysosomes which are not present in the plant cell. Lysosomes are many in number here also. You can see lysosomes, and the cell wall is not present. The outermost layer here is the plasma membrane. So the chloroplast is absent in animal cells. So this is about the animal cells, difference between the plant cells and the animal cells. In this way, in today's lecture or today's video, we have discussed some very basic aspects of the cells. We have discussed how the cell is defined. We have discussed what are the different stages in the discovery of the cell, then what are the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cell. Prior to that, the cell theory, then difference between the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell, and then we discussed the size, shape in different cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, and lastly the difference between the plant cell and animal cell. I think this is sufficient for today's lecture. Thank you very much, friends.